Let me make sure it gets straight. Can you state your name, the high school you went to, the college you're currently going to, and how you got involved in the Student Voice team?
Hi, my name's Hyde Allen. I graduated from Tates Creek High School in 2014. I'm a student at American University in Washington, D.C. I started with Student Voice team, I guess our second meeting. I heard about Student Voice team through the Mayor's Youth Council. Rachel came to recruit some students, and I thought it would be really cool. My mom was like, hey, that's the Purchase Committee, and they're a really good group with education. So I started doing stuff with them.
Why do you value Student Voice?
Student Voice is a mechanism that gets students involved, before they're 18. I've always been interested in politics and always, loved to talk about politics and to follow politics, but I think that most students aren't, and most students don't realize that they can have a say before they're 18 years old, and Student Voice is the way to get those students involved so they can be better citizens for the country when they turn 18, and they can so they'll vote and be a part of the bigger political system.
What has been your favorite aspect of the Student Voice movement?
I think the best part about the Student Voice movement is it's very organic. We really haven't really known what we're doing for a while. We just kind of get some ideas and we roll with them, and we've had this idea for a post-secondary report, and we apply and we get some money, or we had an idea to get students on superintendent screening committees, and we just said, let's write a bill, and we found this bill sponsors for it, and we didn't succeed, but we raised our profile and we raised our name, and I think that the way it's just so organic, it really helps the Student Voice movement grow and transform over the few years we've been around.
What is your favorite aspect about the Student Voice team as an organization?
Yeah, so I think the best part of the Student Voice team is that we really are a team. We love to work together. We've separated in committees, but we work together across those committees, and we try and really get work done, and we try and work together. We'll be on Google Docs at 1 a.m. working on a bill language, or working on a speech for the next day, or a press release. And it really is about valuing everybody's opinion and perspective and getting to the heart of it and working together.
How has being part of the Student Voice team affected your outlook on education as a system, but more specifically, being a student? How has the Student Voice team affected your scholarly pursuits?
Yeah, so I think that the Student Voice team has done a lot for my perception of the education system. I was always a good student, got good grades, well-behaved student, never really had any problems. I always knew there were problems with the education system, that we had the achievement gap, and there were always problems. I don't think I realized how deep they go, or how many people they affected, or how important they were. I got involved with the Student Voice team just because it kind of sounded cool, which isn't the best reason to do something always. But I got involved. It sounded like a cool thing to do. I wasn't that passionate about education when I started, but it kind of fell into my lap, and it's something that I'm very passionate about now, and honestly wouldn't see myself doing just 5 or 6 years ago, but it is something that has become very important to me, and it's affected what I want to do in life, how I wanted to do it, and the stuff in between.
How has working with the Student Voice team affected your thinking about college, and if so, has it affected your decision about attending American University?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of work with college, but I was actually already in college when we started, right after we started post-secondary work. We just now put out our post-secondary report, I guess the year after I was in college. So I'd already applied before we really, looked deep into these issues. So I wasn't really thinking about, financial aid beyond myself and those kind of issues, just beyond what I was doing. As for scholarly work, I think that my work with the Student Voice team, doing communications, doing our Twitter accounts, Facebook, stuff like that, and writing press releases and helping organize the rally that we had, has really pushed me to go into communications, political communications, more than I've always said politics. I've always said I wanted to do politics, but now work with the Student Voice team has really pushed me towards doing communications.
How has working with Student Voice team affected your career goals?
Yeah, so I think that as you know, I'm kind of abnormal, I guess. I always know what I wanted to do. Um, I used to always say I wanted to be a politician, but like that's not anymore what I want to be. But I definitely want to be somebody behind the scenes, helping a politician get elected and do good work for his or her constituents, and that's what the student voice team has really kind of made me realize that I'm good behind the scenes and good at more than just being up front and being the face of things, that I can do stuff behind the scenes.
What kinds of skills, and you kind of touched on this just a second ago, what kind of skills have you gained from the student voice team, and what have you learned about yourself through this work?
Yeah, so the student voice team, before I started, I had no clue how to write a press release or write bill language or write basically anything we've ever done. But I think that as we've gone through the process, we've learned what we're doing. We've Googled stuff and just learned from that to really, it's an organic process we've been going through. It's just been let's learn as we go. We've been very touch and go on it, and I think that that's been amazing for self development. Is that I've learned so many things just over the past 3 years that I didn't know before, and has really pushed me to see I have a lot of skills that are needed.
How do you manage being a student and working on the student voice team?
Yeah, so being a student and being on the student voice team is pretty difficult, I would say. It's as a student, you're already going to class, 2-3 times a day, and then you have an internship that you may go to in college. That you work maybe 2 or 3 days a week. Then on top of that, then you have the student voice team. So it's not like having a normal job where like that's the only thing you do, because being a student is a job in and of itself, and that is an interesting dynamic that you have to I've been interning this past semester, and so it's been like I had a job as a student, I had a job as an intern, and now I have a job as a student voice team member. So it's difficult to do, but I think it's very manageable, and you have to prioritize things. And it's a lot of work on the weekends, it's a lot of work late at night, but it's worth it.
How has working with the student voice team affected your outlook on government as a whole, as an institution, and then also just like the policy making process?
Yeah, so I've followed politics for a while. I've always loved government and politics, but I would like to think that government could pass an easy bill like 236, but I guess that that's not always the case. I'm not the most optimistic person, but I think that government would do things that are right for the state or the country. But I think the student voice team has made me and others realize that there's a lot more to government than just what feels good and what seems right to you. There's the other side. There's what constituents want. There's just so much other things than your one issue. That was something we ran into too. There were issues that were kind of out of our hands. There were issues about transgender bathrooms and issues about religion in schools that weren't necessarily our purview or what we were fighting for, but it was stuff that was affecting what we were doing, and it was just something we just kind of had to deal with that I didn't really think would be a issue. You go in with your one idea and you think you can pass it, but you don't realize that there's 50 other ideas that also want to be passed that you have to work with.
So this is kind of the kicker question. What would you say to someone who wants to support the student voice team?
Yeah, so I think that the student voice team has been doing some amazing work. And the students that do the work, it's another job for them. They already have a job as being a student. They go to class. If they're in high school, they go to class 7 hours a day. They come home, they do maybe 2-3 hours of homework a night. Then they throw in an extracurricular. We have people that are on sport teams that put in many practice hours a week. We have people that run great projects with other students that take hours out of their weeks. So being a student and doing the extracurricular activities is already like one job pretty much, and then they're throwing on top of it. We're all throwing on top of the student voice team and doing work with that. And so it's a lot to do, but all these students love it, love doing this work. We all love doing it, and it's something that needs to be supported financially. We may be students, but it's not cheap to use our time for an issue that we love, and so I think that it would be a big benefit if we could raise some money so we can support our students doing the work that they love to do, so that they don't have to be working another job to take away from that work.
So these last two questions are pretty broad, but first one is, what have you given to the student voice team?
I guess I've been to the student voice team a lot of time. Skipped a few classes here and there to attend the rally. I've put off homework to do student voice team work. I missed several classes in high school to go to the legislative sessions or go to hearings or go to meetings with important people. I was in it. I was in high school before the legislative session last year. And last year I was in college, so I didn't put as much work in as others did. I'm definitely in terms of giving up classwork on the low end of that spectrum. I think that over the past 3 years it's really developed, and I've put a lot of work into it. Students in the organization have put a lot of work into it, and it needs to it's paid off to see the student voice team being recognized nationally for our work. But it's been a lot of work, and it's been a tough process.
Lastly, what has the student voice team given you?
Yeah, so I think the student voice team has given me a lot of skills I didn't know I had. Helped develop skills. Given me a love for education policy that I didn't know I had, 4 years ago. Helped me do amazing things that I couldn't do, just 1 or 2 years ago. So the student voice team's given me a lot of stuff that I didn't know I had that will benefit me in the future.
All right, and then say into the camera, student voice matters as definitively as you can.
Student voice matters.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Done.